What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about sunroof and sunroof drain tube cleaning. Sunroof used to be a feature that's only available in luxury cars, but today, in modern vehicles today, you'll typically find them readily available. Now, you have different types of sunroof. You have single, dual, and panoramic. The single is the one you typically find in cars where it's just one cutout in the roof, typically right above the driver and passenger head. The dual sunroof you'll typically find in the Sienna vans, where the front passengers have their own sunroof system and then the rear middle row passengers have a cutout as well right above their head, and they can also operate the sunroof glass and open and close if they want to. Now, the panoramic roofs are typically found in the Camrys, Avalons, the sedans, and even now the Tundras have panoramic roof where the whole roof system is pretty much in glass and the front part is able to move it up and down, but the rears are fixed, but it's still a big cutout in the roof. Now, the reason why I decided to make this video, I really wanted to highlight the importance of keeping out the drain tubes clean, because a lot of people think the seal they see around the glass is waterproof, and that is not the case. Understanding how a sunroof system works and operates will be able to save you money in the long run, because the damage that it can cause if it's not cleaned out and it gets clogged in the drains, and now you have water overflowing over the headliner and on the dome lights. So that's not a situation you want to find yourself in. So here's how the system actually works. Right above your headliner, what you will have is a sunroof tray mechanism where the sunroof motor is installed, is connected to the tray assembly, and is bolted on around the roof. And you can't see it because, again, it's above your headliner. Now, the glass itself will typically have a seal around it. It's not an airtight seal, nor is it waterproof. So how do you keep water from getting inside of the car? So believe it or not, when it rains or even when you go in the car wash, water will make it past that seal, because it would be impossible to make an airtight and waterproof seal and still have the function to move and operate the glass. So to combat this, the engineers and the designers designed the sunroof system to have the capability to allow water to pass the seal, which is not optional anyway. You can't make it airtight or waterproof. So water will get past that seal around the glass. And once it gets past that seal, there's supposed to be a tray that catches that water, and along that tray is supposed to route the water through these holes that's already punctured around the tray, and that hole is connected to a drain tube. That drain tube runs alongside of the A pillars and alongside of the pillars in the back, and then it's supposed to route the water all the way down outside of the car. It's not supposed to get inside. So because that system is not waterproof, that seal around the glass, that tray and that drain tube are there just for that purpose, just to run and route water outside of your sunroof mechanism. So here I have an example of a Toyota Sienna. This is a dual sunroof, of course. You see how in the two front corners of the sunroof tray mechanism, you have a drain tube. That's that amber, red-orange tube you see running down the A pillar. And then because this is a dual sunroof, the rear sunroof also has a drain tube connected to the rear sunroof system, and then that rear sunroof system has another drain tube that runs out in the back. So they're all connected just to channel water out of that tray. So under normal operation, this is how it would normally work. And this is how you can check too if your sunroof is backed up or if it's clogged. Here, I'm gonna use my wife Highlander as an example. So when I open the sunroof, if you look closely inside the tray, you can see the little hole that I'm talking about where water is supposed to pass through and be able to drain out through the drain tubes and ultimately make its way to the floor. Notice what happens when I pour water inside of that sunroof tray. You see how the water finds its way into the drains and it's able to get out and drain right to the floor. Water never makes it into the car. Now, what normally happens is these passages that the water is supposed to drain out of gets clogged over time with dirt. So how does dirt get there? So that typically happens if you operate the sunroof and drive with it open the majority of the time, which is nothing wrong with that, but you have construction going on around you, you have dust and pollen in the air, and that dust settles on the tray, and then it settles on the roof of the car, and over time, a little rainwater mixed with that dirt and that dust forms a little muddy substance, and that muddy substance sometimes makes it through that small passage, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it gets stuck. Now what you notice is the diameter of the drain tube is a lot bigger than that passage inside of that sunroof tray. That passage is it's a very small diameter compared to the diameter of the sunroof drain tube. And I would also advise you guys not to park under trees. If you have a sunroof system, parking under a tree for a long period of time is going to be your worst enemy. Because again, the leaves on the tree have a lot of dust and pollens, and when the wind blows, it just all falls down on the top of your roof. And again, just a little rainwater mixed with all that dust and dirt form that little muddy substance, which is likely to clog your drain tube system. And now water will not be able to drain. So now what happens is, if I were to block this little drain tube right here, and if I were to pour water, water would not be able to drain out of that tube. So what would happen? Water will actually overflow in the tray system. And when that water overflows, it has nowhere to go. Over time, what starts to happen is it overflows on outside of that tray system, and then it ultimately falls in your headliner, or it falls down alongside the A-pillar, or it even comes out of your dome light. So a typical customer complaint would be, hey, when it rains or if I'm going through a car wash, I get water coming out of my dome light, or I get water coming out of my A-pillar. That is a symptom of a clogged drain tube system. It's not the seal around the glass. A lot of people think, oh, the seal around my glass, is worn, so therefore I need to replace it. But most of the time it's your drain tubes that are clogged. Now, it could be a case where your seal around the glass is worn, where it's letting too much water at a given time to get through, and then thus overflowing the drain tube. But that's rare. Most of the time it's because those drain tubes are clogged. It's not the seal around the glass. So for customers, what I recommend is adding drain tube cleaning into your routine maintenance. You don't want water overflowing out of your sunroof tray mechanism and ultimately ending up inside of your headliner, where now your headliner stained from water damage. And then not only that, if enough water makes it through, or if it's been happening for a while and you don't notice it, all that water is flowing and making its way inside of your carpet. Instead of draining outside of the car, all that water is making its way underneath your carpet. And by the time you realize it, your carpet would have to be saturated so much that you start to feel it. And by that time, there's been a puddle of water underneath your carpet. And now you got to dry out the carpet. You got to, hopefully no mold is developed, because now you got to strip out the whole interior. All because the sunroof drain tubes were not cleaned out, or you didn't know it was even a maintenance item that you should be doing regularly. So for most customers with sunroofs, I don't care if it's a single, dual sunroof, or a big panoramic sunroof system, at least every 20,000 miles, I would recommend, when you bring it in for service, just ask the technician, hey, while you're doing my oil change and tire rotation, here's $5-10 just to blow out the sunroof. You don't need much. All you need is just a little compressed air with a little air nozzle. Reach inside those two little drain passages, and just blow a little shop air in there. You don't want to blow too much, because what can happen, it can separate that drain tube that's connected to that tray. You don't want to use enough air, so much air, that it disengage the tube that's connected to the tray, because now water would just leak right inside of your car. You want to use just enough air just to blow the little dirt particles all the way out. It doesn't cost much. Now, that's it. All you need to do is just find a technician doing your oil change rotate. Hey, by the way, while you have the car up in the air, or while you have it down, just blow some air inside the drain tubes for me. If you don't mind, here's $5 or $10. And they will do it. I will have no problem doing that for you. So I would definitely recommend adding that to your regular routine maintenance every 20,000 miles. Like I said, get those drain tubes cleaned out. I've seen it time and time over again. If that car starts leaking water because your sunroof drain tubes are clogged, and now you got mold underneath your carpet and mold starting to develop on top of your carpet, the repair to fix that is very expensive. I'm talking about the whole interior got to be stripped out. You got to call a mold remediation company to come out and kill all the mold inside of the car, all because of a clogged drain tube. There's no need to fear having a car or owning a car with sunroofs. Sunroofs are not a bad thing. Now it's almost impossible to get a car without a sunroof. It's almost like they're shoving it down our throat. But you don't need to fear them. Just keep these simple routine maintenance in mind. Don't park underneath a tree for a long time. If you're going out to Publix just for a few minutes, that's fine. You want to keep your car under a shady tree, that's fine. But if you work somewhere 7-8 hours a day at a time, and there's a shady spot where there's a nice big tree branch that hovers over that parking spot, that's not the ideal spot you should be parking your car if you have a sunroof. All that dust is over time is just gonna clog up your sunroof drain tube, and you're not aware about keeping it clean, and you could find yourself in a big situation where it's costing you a lot of money. So just keep these tips in mind. That's all I got for you guys today. If you find this video informative, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. As always, thanks for watching.